This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's pod. This is the week in review of November 6th, 2021. I keep screwing up the dates only because it's always like 2 days prior or 1 day prior. It's the 7th, isn't it, that we're recording?
Today's the 7th. We've always had our, for the episodes, it was like the week ending of the Saturday, but we could always change it to the day.
No, it's tradition now.
No, it is tradition.
I just like to surprise you with a conversation opening the show that you're not expecting to get your natural response. And Phil, there's another thing for the people that watch our show, not the people that listen. I always kind of try to measure where we are in our week with how large our beards are as we talk to each other, because mine hasn't been trimmed in a little over a week. I've been letting it grow out just a little bit. Yep. Yours is finally groomed and looking amazing as usual. So I'm always usually jealous. And of course, people are looking at my from the angle on the phone, like with the light, because I use my phone as a camera. You're watching it zoom in and out. My eyebrows are very large today, so I apologize for the viewership out there. Phil can't see it because I have two cameras running, and the one camera's right on me, so he can't see the kind of angle. But here we are. Okay, so this week was a very slow news week. I felt like the last couple of weeks have been very slow news weeks.
A little bit, yeah.
Discord has been kind of all over the place with a lot of stuff. I mean, it's very mundane things, right? Saints Maniac is planning her trip. It's coming up in about a week and a half. Or 2 weeks, right? Thanksgiving week, I believe. Shout out to her in the community.
Yeah, there's a few people going around Thanksgiving, so that'll be interesting to see how crowds are there and how things like Genie Plus and stuff work with the holiday crowd.
Well, here's the thing. Like, kids are getting vaccinated now. Hurrah, hurrah. Awesome. My kids are getting vaccinated tomorrow. First shot.
We're next Saturday. For
nice.
Our younger two.
Everybody's getting vaxxed up, getting their shots. And, like, Phil, I suspect as we move on into the next year number 2 of this podcast, which is coming up in about four-ish months or so, that the news weeks are going to be slow, right? Because we don't want really impactful news weeks around here, right? This should be just like a show where we talk about Disney and the next trip and stuff like that. So this might be a good run for what's going to be like a year from now.
The future of the podcast.
And everything like that. So the news is very light, but it's always some good stuff. And we're going to start this week before we hit the couple of news points that you have with is the DCI this week. As always, we'll start off the show. I don't think it's changed at all. Matt is not being lazy, by the way. I'm going to give him a shout out now. He has started a new podcast behind the scenes, which we've been helping him get started and what technology to use, that type of thing. Matt's always been a friend of the show. Obviously, he's provided a lot of content for us. He's a very big member of the DBC Pod Discord, and we're kind of expanding our family because his podcast is, I don't want to say it's under our brand because it's his podcast. We have nothing to do with it, but it's good. It's basically a friend of the pod, right? It's a show on a loose network of a very large community that we're slowly growing. It's called Happily Everything Disney. So it's a combination of Happily Ever After, which is one of his favorite shows. If you recall, he was desperately trying to go down before Labor Day, and which he was successful with. And it's the news about everything Disney. So they're going to be discussing the DCI and just basically two other his friends kind of going around just doing another, every man, every woman's what's going on this week in Disney. So it's he kind of tells it what are we discussing in between trips, right? That's kind of his thing, right? And I just realized I've had the DCI up as we're talking about this. People aren't looking at our faces, so I apologize for our viewers there. So you could go find it. I have on iTunes, anywhere you find the podcast, you can find it.
It just came up on Google. That's where I get my podcast. So I asked him to add it to there, and it came up, I think, yesterday. So it's pretty much everywhere now.
So I'm going to mention that again. Happily Everything Disney. It's also going to be our DBC Recommends. We're going to talk about it again to kind of promote our friend of the show's podcast. That being said, we're going to have two discussion topics. Very heavily Matt Pato influence with one of his last before and afters as he's kind of shifting towards podcast discussion type of stuff. With that being said, Phil, why don't you take us away with the news?
The news, and as Jason said, there wasn't anything big, but I think a couple interesting things to raise and kind of see if these are signals of things to come. The first one being that now with international travel opening up again, we are starting to see some details for some UK packages for Walt Disney World. They always have some special opportunities and kind of different discounts and stuff like that. But what's unique about this one that is part of what they call their magic ticket is that they have the opportunity to add Disney Genie Plus to their days at a discount off the full $15 price.
It's not really a discount. I mean, like, it's less than a Mickey bar a day.
Yeah, it's not huge, but so just the magic ticket allows guests to purchase a 14-day ticket for the price of 7 days to the park. That's kind of typical to what the UK has had. Theirs are usually geared around longer trips since obviously you're coming from abroad. But they're allowed to add Disney Genie Plus as part of that ticket package for £6.99 British pounds per day. It's a savings of about $5 off the $15 price tag. So it'd be about $10 a day instead of $15 a day.
I mean, Phil, family of four, you're saving them $20 a day. I mean, like, this is not this is embarrassing, honestly. Like, if it's going to be discount, you get it for free, right? You get it with your ticket. I mean...
Yeah, you think you're coming over for 14 days, staying on site or whatever.
Why is... This should just be like... This should not even be mentioned anywhere. There should not be any press release. This should be like just like, oh, by the way, we're giving you free Genie Plus.
Yeah. But I think it's more for me, it was like, okay, this is the first discount we're seeing on it. I'm sure it'll be coming to guests in the US as well. When you start booking special packages, they'll include it there. You know, they have all their specials where they would include other various things, whether it was free dining or whatever.
Yeah,
now there'll be an opportunity, I think, to get Genie Plus included.
But the UK always has strange discounts.
They also have different things that we don't get. Yeah, so it definitely doesn't mean
they had a dining plan a couple months ago, or
there was like a dining credit thing or something they gave them.
You get some, like, basically a magic gift card that you could apply to food, essentially. So, but no domestic travelers saw that. Right. I mean, there's not much to say about this. I don't know how far we want to drag into this discussion, but I just found it comical that it's like, here's a free $5 to the $20,000 that you're spending to come over here for 2 weeks from the UK, right? I mean, maybe it's not that much, but it's gonna be close. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. But go ahead. Sorry.
Next news item is, speaking of people spending money, the first 3 months of the Galactic Star Cruiser are sold out. Not sure that's really surprising, but...
No, but do you know who's going?
Who?
Friend of the show, my sister and brother-in-law.
Right.
They're going. They booked. They're DVC members. They're not using points. But... They're going, I think, in April of next year, right? Or opens in March, right? Did I get that right? Do I remember that correctly?
Yes.
March, right?
Yeah,
so they're going like a month
yeah.
open, whatever. They were very happy about it. I was very angry, but anger out of jealousy, the fact that they can go.
We have a few people in the DVC Discord going.
Yep.
Actually, one of my friends that I know through a sports talk message board, like, messaged me on Twitter, was like, "Hey, did you get you going to the Star Cruiser? We just booked it." I'm like, I didn't even know you were like into Disney at all. So cool that you're booking that. Like, all right.
I don't know. People might have too much disposable income at this point. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, that one they said it was like their son was graduating 8th grade. That's like the one thing he wanted to do. So it was kind of like a combo gift thing. I think that's where this kind of fits in, is sort of special event type things. Not.
I can go with high school graduation present. Like, is that their only child?
I think they have 2.
So that makes it a little bit easier. So we live in the world that 5 is just too expensive for everything, Phil. Are normal people 1 or 2 kids now? Like, what's the average family in America right now? Is it still like nuclear family, 4 kids, or whatever it is?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think mostly it's less than 3. But
I would think so. I mean, like, we're just completely out of, like, 5 party of 5. No, party of 4. I don't know. It's expensive. Good for them. I'm happy. I mean, I would definitely go for it, but my kids are way too young for it anyway. So
yeah. Next news item is that Eternals characters will be debuting at Disney's California Adventure and Avengers Campus. I was telling Jason before we got on the air that I just got back. The family saw this movie today, and it's very exciting to see characters from a new movie and just sort of rotating characters, like something new comes out. It kind of reminds me of back in the day when there would be like a new parade every year at Walt Disney World for whatever the new like movie coming. Like there was a Lion King's out, there's a Lion King parade or whatever, like. So we need to see more of this going on, I think. I've
got two lines of questioning here. A, I think this is their lesson learned from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and The Mandalorian. Like, they need a space where they can just interject the hotness of right now into a space. And two, you catch that A and two. What did you think of Eternals? No spoilers. Are we giving it a thumbs up, thumbs down? And where does it rank in all the MC movies? Is it in the bottom third, middle third, or top third? I'm just going with that.
So I would give it a thumbs up. I think it was something I was really looking forward to, so it probably fell a little short of sort of my hopes and wishes and dreams for it. It's a lot. There's like 11 new characters we've never met. This whole like mythos of what the Eternals are, and so it's just a lot to cover in a movie, and it seemed to meander a little bit and kind of go back and forth. So a really funny movie. There's a lot of really good humor in it, some good action scenes and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend it. Thinking of the MCU, it's probably, towards the bottom of the middle third, probably lower, slightly below midpoint, I would say, if I'm ranking the movies. So, good, but not a top tier movie.
That's somewhat disappointing because we were expecting this to be like top 10 somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think it falls short of that. But I also think it's one where I'll probably, I move it up in my rankings after I see it a couple of times. It's a lot to take in one movie, so.
All right, if they build upon this, which I don't think they are at this point with the movies that are slated, because it's Doctor Strange and Spider-Man and various other, Wakanda and stuff.
Yeah, we don't have specific things, but they're definitely introducing these characters to stick around to some extent.
I haven't seen it, full disclosure, right? Obviously. If they build upon these characters, right, this becomes like fully fleshed out, and this is like a direction that they're going. Do you revisit your score, like let's say 4 years from now, where like all the storylines, the characters, and all this stuff, does this become better in your mind?
I think it could, because actually when I've been talking to a number of people, we've been saying it'd be great if they had some more content about them on, say, Disney Plus, where there was like some shows where they could, spend 20 minutes going into one of the characters and building them out more, and making me think how, things like WandaVision made people like Age of Ultron more, because you got more sort of background into it and built off of it. So I could see that. Like I said, I think we just need to know more about these characters and have it build out a little more. It was just a lot to cover.
I was always worried about this movie because it's a lot of newness, right? Mm-hmm. And you're invoking the Avengers and all the like the teasers and stuff like that, right? So you're invoking a lot of emotion and memory, and we just got off of Loki, right? That had like a whole different take on where the MCU is going with like time travel and everything else that kind of went in with the multiverse and stuff like that. And now we're going back to like the snap, and we're going back to like Thanos and whatever. Anyway, we're going to probably talk about this in a later episode when people have plenty of time to watch it and kind of, go through that. Probably next year, I would imagine, once we get. I have a chance to see it. And I'm 2 movies behind. I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet either, so I'm definitely
of the
slacking.
2, I liked Shang-Chi better than the Eternals.
I could see that only because it's kind of isolated, right? It's one character.
It's definitely story. A little bit more of a self-contained story and stuff. Yep.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so let's go on. What's the next
last news item that I had was, this was a little bit funny. We were hearing rumors that there could be changes to the mask policy at Walt Disney World, and everyone's speculating on it. Oh, when's the news going to come up? Blah, blah, blah. And then news broke.
This is stupid rumors.
And it's that fully vaccinated cast members at Disney World in backstage areas will not have to wear face masks. And so that seemed to be
good.
Disappointing. I mean, it's a step forward, I think most people are, a lot of places where you work, if you're fully vaccinated and stuff like that, you can take your mask off.
Isn't that everybody? Isn't there a mandate now that everybody has to be vaccinated at Disney World?
With a few exceptions for like medical or religious needs, but it's very like minor.
Basically,
so theoretically,
everybody, right?
There could be somebody, but yes.
Well, here's my thing. For this rumor that's been going on for like 2 Fridays now, right?
Everyone's like, coming out this Friday.
There's a couple members on Discord that are following. I hate when I do this. I look at my camera. I've got like the strings all messed up because my kids play with these things. All right, I got the new Disney World, not new, I don't know, but Disney World sweatshirt from my sister-in-law. Thanks to her for the last trip down there for the Glen Floridian. Anyway, so people are watching the mayor of Orlando to like, what they're saying, or the county and all the numbers in Florida, like they're being dropped behind some CDC levels. And I'm like, why? This means nothing. Those numbers mean, like, Walt Disney World has tourists from all over the country.
And soon to be all over the world, right?
Right. So why would they care what happens in like a little local municipality? It's not like you could pick Orlando, you could pick a suburban town in Illinois or, wherever. It doesn't make a difference. And like, because people like, yes, the cast members are coming from a local area, but the tens of thousands of people that are coming through those gates that are changing every single day are from all over the country. And until the country is at a different number, I guess, that's when they're probably going to consider removing mask mandates. Because right now, if they wanted to remove a mask mandate, they can.
For sure, yeah.
There's no legal or local ordinance saying that they must have a mask mandate. This is a choice by Disney to have a mask mandate. So what's going to make them change their mask mandate again, like they did earlier in the summer, where it was now fully optional, and then with the Delta, they said, okay, it's now indoors mask mandate type of thing. It's going to be the state of the pandemic in all of the United States. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's that. It's not going to be like, oh, kids can get vaccinated. Okay, rip off those masks. No, it's going to be CDC saying the vast majority of the country is at a certain orange, green, yellow, whatever threshold number wise, and that's when they're going to consider it, right? I mean, am I wrong, Phil? I mean, are you with me on this one, or do you think that they might?
I don't know what the trigger is going to be. Whether it's going to be that the whole country's at a certain point, or if now that the kids can get vaccinated, after a certain amount of time from that, I don't know what it's going to. I assume it's not one thing. It's going to be a combination of things.
Oh yeah, it's but not one metric.
I agree with
you
that it isn't just like, oh, now Orlando's at this, so we're good to go. It's going to be Disney's thinking beyond that.
It's the state of the pandemic. It's going to be some factor where, is it when it switches from pandemic to endemic? Is it switching from the vast majority of the population is under a low community spread? Everybody goes to whatever website of choice and looks at the numbers or whatever, and like what color. Like there's going to be something, right? Yeah. I think that's going to be at this, and it's nowhere near right now. It might be in a month from now, right? More kids get vaccinated. Might be by Q1 next year. Get your kids vaccinated. Talk to your doctors. Get your kids vaccinated, please. If you're not vaccinated, I don't know why you're listening to this show, because I've been ranting and raving about it already. So you might either hate me or you're still listening to me. Either one. But thank you for listening. Either way. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to change on a dime. I think we're going to see a larger dialogue going on nationally about how well the country is doing. And once you start seeing that prevalent in whatever news that you listen to, whether it's paper or cable or local, whatever it might be, until the narrative is like, we're beating this type of thing again, type of whatever conversation, I think that's when you might see some things. And not to talk about COVID too much, because I know we get complaints about talking about COVID and everything, but just hold on to your masks for a couple more months, I think.
That'll do it for the news. Reminder of our social media accounts: Twitter @PodDBC, Instagram the DBC Podcast, Facebook DBC Pod, the YouTube channel, and the Discord server.
I have to apologize because we got one comment from somebody that stuck in my mind that we talk about COVID too much, and they listen to our podcast to kind of get away from it. And that's what we started the show about, right? Mm-hmm. So I apologize to that. Hopefully we didn't talk about too much. I hope it's all good stuff. Okay, so are you ready for this week's attractionality?
I am ready.
You're ready. So this week's attractionality is Space Mountain. Zoom through the galaxy, Phil. Zoom. Dip and careen into the inky blackness of futuristic soundtrack. Echoes all around you. Fly past shooting stars and celestial satellites. Roar past streaking orbs of light. Waveward comets and migrant meteors. Feel the pull of gravity as you're drawn into a swirling wormhole. I mean, Disney writes the best descriptions for rides.
I love reading that. I want to up my scores.
So this is going to be an interesting one because Space Mountain is got all the points for nostalgia, right? Like people are ranking the heck out of this thing, and it's obviously also the worst roller coaster or thrill ride on property, just based on age, right? These things age.
Right. Unless
it's
you like
also
the shakiness and the feeling that you're going to hit steel and all that sort of stuff.
It's also the worst version in North America of Space Mountain, right? I mean, Disneyland is significantly better. They've updated, and it's probably it might be other than maybe, actually, no. Japan is almost the same as Walt Disney World's, but theirs is still better. I don't recall what this,
and Hong Kong's is like Disneyland's.
So this argument might be the worst version of Space Mountain in the world. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to talk about Space Mountain. Q1 to you. Question 1. How much do you like the concept of this attraction? A Wildcat-like indoor. Does Adam, does he make up these things or did he pull this?
I think some of them he does, yeah.
Wildcat-like. I love that. Kudos to him. Indoor roller coaster themed as a rocket ride through outer space. I want to say I'm going to flash the scores here on the screen. Number 5, the 27 people gave this a number 5. I gave this a number 4. What did you give this, Phil?
I gave it a 5. I love the idea. Some of that's probably nostalgia and the history of it, and kind of that first indoor roller coaster, and just how they thought about building on. They built the first tubular steel coaster with Matterhorn, and they wanted to build on that and stuff like that. So I really love the concept of it, and a dark roller coaster that makes you feel like you're in outer space. I think is just a great concept, and it fit into the theme park really well at the time it was built.
I give this a 4, right? Prevents me from a 5 is that it's not perfect, right? I feel like even going through it, the line is pretty cool. It gives you all the kind of scenery and stuff like that. The part of the ride leading up to the first kind of dip into darkness, kind of go up. It's the scene where you see the people mover, that type of thing with the astronauts. I think that's really cool. I love the whole thing. It's a very well done production. I don't think it's perfect as a concept, but I think it's darn good. So I definitely give it a 4. Question 2: how well do you think? My last video, I was going away from the mic, so I apologize from everybody. I have to get back to doing better with that. How well do you think it's? How well do you think It's a Space Mountain delivers for its targets? He said It's a Space Mountain. That's kind of strange.
I think he copy and pasted this from when it was
It's a Small World.
And
Yes,
he forgot to
yes.
delete a little bit.
All right. How well do you think Space Mountain delivers for its target audience?
So I think for some of the same reasons you pointed out why you gave the first one a 4, that's why I gave this one a 4. I think it's just not. It could be a little bit better. Like you said, it's not my favorite version of the ride. I think it could be enhanced with some of the things we've seen elsewhere with more effects and stuff like that. So I think it's a really good ride. It could just be a little bit better.
I give this a 3. Right, so I'm putting this in context of all other roller coasters on property because that's how I have to score it. I gave it a 3 because you can't say any of the roller coasters are bad at Walt Disney World, right? So that would be like a 1 or 2. It's like disappointing. Like I'm angry that I waited online for this when I got out of it because it's not.
Other than like Goofy's Barnstormer or whatever.
I love the Barnstormer, right? Because I go in with my children, right? It's like my kid's first roller coaster. I just went on with my 3-year-old. I went on with my 4-year-old son when he was 4 2 years ago. Like this is like, I like it. It's short. It's easy. It's accessible for children. Because I think that's what their target audience is, right? The keyword target audience, right? You are not the target audience, Phil, of Barnstormer. But even my Shame on you.
After we rode Barnstormer, we're like, that's it. So I'm like,
how old were they, and have they been on other rides yet?
Yeah,
before that.
Well, yeah, they'd been on other rides, but they were.
Well, see, that's it. This is like literally their fast-moving ride when they were like under 4. That's their target. Anyway, let's get back to Space Mountain. I give it a 3 only because out of all the other roller coasters, this is probably the worst roller coaster on property. Still a good one, right? I mean, we're not saying it's bad, but it's the worst out of all of them. I think that's what I'm going from it. It delivers like the frights and the scares. It's kind of tame. My son liked it, and he's terrified of these things, but he still goes on with this stuff. My daughter likes it, but she likes other stuff more. She's 8. So definitely 3. So question number 3, Phil, how much do you personally enjoy Space Mountain? Well, actually, let me
Oh,
pause.
you
I'm
wanna go?
sorry. I forgot to flash the screen. Most people give this a 5 as well. It delivers. I don't know what people are thinking. They're crazy. Okay.
I also gave this one a 4. I really like it. I think it's fun. Every time I get off that ride, I'm like, that is a really fun ride. I'm trying to, ranking them. I'm not sure where it would rank, but it's one of those sort of like must-do rides for us. So, I don't think it's my favorite coaster, but it's one of our this is something we want to do every Disney trip. So I give it a 4.
I gave this a 3 also. Because one of the tracks always it's a little bit shaky. The other track is I think is like twice as better as the other one, right? So you get some different enjoyment depending on ride vehicle. I still give it a 3 only because again I love this ride. I took nostalgia completely out of this. We're all rating it on different metrics and stuff like that. So that's the wrong thing. Do I personally enjoy it? Yes, because it's got the old Disney nostalgia to it. It tells a story. It's I like the before and after of the ride. The music is I hate the rest of Tomorrowland, and it's all of Tomorrowland is basically 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s version of the future, right? And it's cheesy sci-fi that's just terrible. But if they took all of that nostalgia and kind of cool feel and just kind of kept it within Space Mountain, I dig it, right? Because there's a space for love in it. It's a bit too much for the rest of the land. So that's why I gave it a 3. I'm still going on in every single trip. Don't get me wrong, right? It's not nothing I'm skipping on, but I much rather, if I had to give up one coaster on Disney property, it's probably going to be Space Mountain out of all four parks. If you had to give up one coaster that you couldn't go on, and you're going to all 4 parks, Phil, which one would you not go on?
Taking Barnstormer out of it because that would be the one. But
that would be.
I think I enjoy it, but I don't have to ride Rock and Roller Coaster, for example. I'd rather go on Space Mountain than that.
You have me thinking. Because Rock and Roller Coaster is definitely 10 times more enjoyable.
Oh, it's
Space
more
Mountain?
extreme, it's more thrilling and stuff like that. But I think I enjoy Space Mountain more.
But the nostalgia factor does have a huge. I think Rock and Roll. It's Aerosmith. No one cares about Aerosmith anymore, right? They're old guys. It's a fun as heck coaster, right? It's definitely much more thrillier. But there's something about Space Mountain that's close to everybody's heart, I think.
Yep.
So I dig that. Okay, question number 4. How well do you think Space Mountain fits into Tomorrowland and its Magic Kingdom? Excuse me.
So this one, I think I had asked that question on Discord, was more of how much does Tomorrowland fit it more than it
That's our
fits
next
Tomorrowland?
question. Yes.
I gave it a 5 because I think it fit perfectly when it was.
Everybody give this a 5.
And what, kind of Tomorrowland, the vision of it was at that point, and thinking nostalgia and stuff like that. And maybe it gets into the next question, but to me, it totally fits with what Tomorrowland should be.
I'm going to call out Cast of Stone because I don't think he took out the ones.
Oh,
he usually
yeah.
he gives every score a 1, right? 1 through 5, and then when he tallies the score, he takes them out. He might have done that when he did the recording of the thing. I'm looking at the numbers that you gave. No, he didn't. So I'm going to call him out on that. But yes, I think basically it was 31 people that gave it a 5. I gave this a 5 too. I mean, it's perfect fit for Tomorrowland and what it's trying to do. The aesthetic, the architecture, the music, everything. It's perfect fit for sure. The follow-up question, as you just alluded to, for this week's Attractionality is, does Space Mountain fit in your vision of what Tomorrowland should be? So, Phil, I think you should. My camera is focusing and unfocusing on my head. You don't see it because you're looking at the other camera. It's going wild right now, and I apologize to everybody on YouTube. Phil, what is your vision for Tomorrowland, and does Space Mountain fit into that?
Yeah, so I think if I was in charge of Tomorrowland, because it's just really almost unrealistic to continually update it to what we now think tomorrow's going to be, I would go more for that sort of retro, campy, really lean heavily into it, almost like what we thought the future was going to be in the 50s and 60s and stuff like that. And so to me, I think it fits perfectly in that we thought there was going to be the space travel and we'd have spaceports and stuff like that. And I think that it would fit great into my vision of what Tomorrowland and the Magic Kingdom should be.
So, in my opinion, we had a whole podcast about this over a year ago, I think. I don't remember what it was. I would rip Tomorrowland down, right? I mean, we love the people mover. That has to stay. Tron obviously has to stay because they just spent millions upon millions of dollars to not build that yet. So there's that. So I guess you have to have some kind of futuristic, future spacey kind of thing. I'd get rid of the whole concept of Tomorrowland because it just doesn't work anymore, especially in today's world, right? Because we were just talking about with the Epcot expedition that we had a little while ago, the future is more green than concrete and white at this point, right? In our vision of things, return to nature, making things more clean. So that's kind of tricky. Does it have a spot in it? Yes, it does. It depends on what vision of what Tomorrowland or whatever land it is, right? There's definitely a space vibe to it. I would probably gut Space Mountain, but keep the music and the theming, but make it instead of having like the space shuttle-esque, astronauts that are in there, kind of like futuristic, like bring it up to like what current day vision of what space travel looks like, but keep all like the campiness of like the music and stuff like that. The rest of the land, I don't need to go into what I would want to do with it, but like it would be kind of more of a cleaner vision of things, less aliens and stuff like that, and more whatever. Because I'd probably take out Buzz and put it somewhere else because there's a Toy Story Land now. We don't need that there anymore. And that one's kind of
whereas I think I would lean more into that. Like I like Tron, kind of like the computer version of the future, and Buzz is kind of like that campy space, kind of ranger shooting alien things. And
but I think that belongs. I think that belongs in more of an Epcot type of feel to it because like Space 220 is kind of like that with like their humorous menu and the way they do things.
I guess in some ways, see, to me it fits more Magic Kingdom, which is like more of a fantastical take on things.
Okay.
Whereas
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Like Future World was more of like these are technologies we're actually working on, like that type of a thing. So
fair enough. No, I mean, like, well, you could argue your way into my brain with your argument. I'm not saying there's wrong. Let's put something on like paper with like a really cool like, back screens and everything else like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm the CEO of Disney. I'm going to greenlight that. Phil, go with that. But you know what? Here we are on a podcast, and neither of us have any control what goes on Disney. We can have a lot of fun. Okay, so we're a good halfway through the program now here. So we're going to go with our topics for the week. And this one, as we alluded to at the top of the show, is a before and after via Matt and the work he's been doing on that channel on Discord and on the Disboards for, I guess, over a year now, man. It's been a while. He's been doing this. Topic number 30. So what we're going to do is he has topics 30 through 37. So we got 7 topics here. I don't know if we're going to hit all of them up. But it's simple. He gives a question. He gives a date. And you have to say, is it going to happen before or after it, Phil? So we're going to run these down. If anything's interesting, we're going to talk about it. If not, we're going to go to the next question. So question number 1. When will Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind open to the public? And he puts 7/1. These are all 20. This one's 2022. 7/1/2022. Before or after, Phil?
I said after, and I was in the minority on this one.
You are 21-5, by the way.
Yeah, I'm still convinced that this is the one that's going to open in the second half of next year, and Tron will open before it. But I think I'm in the minority of that.
Yeah, see. The only way that you'd be right, because I said before because it's just silly that this wouldn't open already. But the only thing that'll hold this against is the filming of all the scenes. That's the only thing I can think could make a delay.
So I mean, it definitely could be. But like I said, I think I'm always thinking that they're going to want to spread out a little bit the opening of this and Tron. So I guess part of it depends when you think Tron.
See, if you think Tron's going to open, I think one of these is going to open in the first 100 days of next year.
Yes. I agree.
And I think it's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. So I go with before on that one. And we have nothing to speculate this on other than just guesswork at this point, right? So we have no updates other than I think we saw last week that they started putting a space for the railway in Magic Kingdom. Finally.
Yeah, there was a photo of like I guess where the tunnel.
A gap. That's all we had.
Yeah, I know.
But we celebrated that gap in the structure. It was great. Because I think the last time anybody got to ride that train was in was it 2018 that it went down? 2017?
I know it's been over 1,000 days that the railroad's
3
been
years.
closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of that. So that's crazy. Okay, so question number 31, topic number 3. The journey of water inspired by Moana open to the public, and he has October of next year.
I was in the
forget what
minority
he
of this
voted.
one too. I said before, I just feel like I know they're working on it. I think they got to finish up that middle of Epcot sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I mean, 10-2 is already, 10-1 is the 40th anniversary of Epcot. I really think they want to have that middle open by then.
I said they want it open before next Food and Wine. That's my line of thinking on this.
Yeah.
It could be anything. Who knows? It might be just some
I was
water
surprised so
fountains,
many
whatever.
more people went for after. I mean, that's like almost another year just for
Yeah,
this.
two-thirds of the people went for after on this. Topic number 32, when will the next after-hours party non-holiday resume? Like Disney Villains, after hours, blah, 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 blah. They said before next July. Almost everybody went before 19 to 6. Were you part of the before crowd? Like
I was before. I figured they'll see that these are working out well. They can make money off them, and
The next one's coming in January. I mean, like they're chaining these things. There's always going to be an after party, I think. And that's just where they're going to be. I mean, there might be a gap somewhere. So January there might be the one. I think these are just going to be the Magic Kingdom festivals of Epcot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. They make way too much money, and the only reason why they'll do this because it does not impact normal operating hours for the the park. And they're going to make it. Why not? If you're going to sell out at $150 a pop for these things, why the heck not? They're going to make money off of this. When will Wild Africa Trek tours resume? Before or after May 1st of next year? I think almost everybody voted after.
Yeah, most people went after, as did I. May just seems a little soon for more. There really aren't many tours back, other than like VIP tours and stuff. There's still not a lot of the tours at Animal Kingdom open yet, and that I don't know. It just feels soon for that versus other things, but you never know. They make money on tours, so maybe they could bring them back sooner. But I went after.
Yep. Next question is when will the announcement of a brand new ride at Walt Disney World happen? When's Next D23? Not the one that you're going to. That's next August. Is it August this summer for you?
I think it's early September.
September. Okay.
Yeah.
I think if there's going to be something, it's going to be that, and it's not going to be a ride on the East Coast. It's going to be basically some vague plans at Disneyland, like we saw at some point this year with some more concept art.
Yeah. So we'll see if anything comes out at Destination D23. There is a parks panel which we'll get into, but I think brand new ride at Walt Disney World, not like redoing Spaceship Earth or something like that, but a brand new additional ride. We're a ways away from here.
That's for this slight interruption, technical difficulties, but here we go. Question number 35, and I'm going to repeat myself here. When will the Splash Mountain be taken offline for Tiana's makeover? And the date is May 31st, 2023, so basically a year and a half from now. I'm going to say before on this one.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I went before. I think it'll be when they take Splash Mountain down for its normal winter refurb next year. So earlier in 2023, late 2022, but who knows?
Basically after the 50th celebration, essentially.
Well, I think that's what his date is because that's, I guess, the 50th ends in April of 2023.
Does it?
Yeah.
I thought it was
18 months.
earlier than that. Okay. Fair enough. I don't know. It's just anybody's
so far
guess
out,
at this point. Who cares?
I mean, it could be next week. It could be 4 years from now.
Yeah. The next question is 36. When will Remy's Ratatouille Adventure move to a standby queue? I think this is kind of a silly question. I don't think it's going to move to standby queue. And I just had the Attraction Alley screen up. I apologize for your viewers on YouTube. It says before or after next June 2022. Excuse me, July 2022. I think it's going to be after on that one.
I think it'll be way before that. I don't think they want it. They'll have it on the standby. They just took Spider-Man off the standby queue over in California Adventure.
Actually, I changed my. It's going to be before, but because Guardians is going to open before that.
Yeah, I think something will open up. Yeah, something else will open up, and there's no need for it, to be honest. So
True.
I think it'll be way before then.
Last question is when will Animal Kingdom get a new nighttime show? My answer is after because it's never going to happen. And the before after date is the end of 2020.
Yeah, I think I'm
basically 2023.
I said before, just because I think they will eventually have one there, and it's a whole year out. But maybe I'm just being optimistic. But
I mean, we haven't heard any rumors about this. That this park needs a lot of help. I mean, they're demoing Primeval Whirl. They haven't even. You know what? That might be the new ride that they announce.
That's true. Is what's
right? I didn't think about that. Like a good solid like D or C ticket attraction that kind of fits right in there. Something that's not too expensive. It might get away with that being the new ride that they announce. We might have to change some things. Okay, for the last leg of the show, Phil, you're going in a week and a half ish.
Yep.
You're going to the Destination D23 down in Walt Disney World. I'm very jealous. I was talking to my wife about this as we're taking for a walk. It was going to cost me several $100s just to join D23 because I'm just a normal member. I'm not a paid member.
Yep.
And the tickets were a couple bucks, and then the trip down there and the tickets. And I wasn't ready to spend that much money when you told me early in the morning, hey, the tickets are on sale. I'm like, oh, I have to make my decision now because I was a slacker. So I did not sign up for it. But Phil, you did, and I'm very, very jealous. So you have like the whole itinerary here. So what did you want to touch upon?
I thought it might be
What
nice
are you
to
looking
go
forward
through
to?
some of these. Yeah, I could maybe go through that. But yeah, this past week they released the full schedule. They kind of said there would be morning sessions and afternoon sessions, but they actually have everything that in detail that's going to be out over the course of the 2 days. I am interested in the first session, which is going to be a look at the future of Disney Parks experience and products, which will be led by the chairman of that department, Josh D'Amaro. So I think that should be exciting.
Are you going to boo anybody? Are you going to be one of those people, Phil?
I will not.
Oh, very good. I'm proud of you. Thank you.
I will either cheer or be silent.
Well, let me ask you this question. Are you expected to be quiet for most of this time, or are you expected to be
I'm
cheering?
sure I will be cheering.
Yes.
I'm excited. I think everyone there wants to be there and wants to be excited. And I did notice Bob Chapek is not on the list. I don't think it was up to Josh D'Amaro. But I think, especially with there not having been a D23 event last year, which is when a lot of announcements come out. Normally at Destination D23, there isn't a parks panel. So the fact that there is one, I'm hoping we get a couple little tidbits or something coming out of it. So that should be good.
I mean, I see here it says give you the first look of newest projects around the world. I'm underscoring around the world.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And of course, a little Disney magic along the way. Because they're going to talk a lot about Shanghai, and they're going to talk a lot about Hong Kong, and a lot of the things that they're doing over there.
That they're doing in those parks with Frozen and stuff like that for sure.
So you're definitely going to get some stuff about the parks that you'll probably either never see or maybe might see once in a lifetime because if you're listening from the States right now, of course.
Yep. The next one that kind of caught my eye, probably because we were in the middle of our DVC expedition into this, is there's one called Planes, Trains, and Monorails, Walt Disney World on the Move, presented by Enterprise. I don't know why it has to be presented by somebody, but hey.
Rental cars, sure. Go ahead.
There's a host and then an array of Imagineers taking us on a journey of Walt Disney World transportation. So I think
that's going to be fun.
I think that should be fun. There's a whole thing on the Galactic Star Cruiser, which I think is cool because it's hosted by Ashley Eckstein, who was the voice of Ahsoka Tano, for those of you who don't know. So I'm sure that'll be a little bit of marketing and trying to get people, why is this so cool? But I'm assuming we'll get a couple new tidbits out of that as well.
Side note to those who've watched the Mandalorian episodes last year, I just finished Clone Wars. Hooray for me.
Congratulations, yes.
It was such a... It was trials and tribulations. And I just realized all the interesting Ahsoka episodes happen in Rebels. So I'm starting that right now. We'll talk about this as I get on my Book of Boba Fett. We'll be certainly doing episodes of that.
We'll see if we'll be doing the episodes on Book.
Oh, we're gonna definitely be doing those.
Okay.
Give me time to kvetch about Star Wars on a microphone. But I'm sorry for interrupting the D23.
Yeah. The next one that caught my eye is the last one on Saturday evening, which is called the Park Stars of Walt Disney World. This is the stuff that I wish there was more of throughout the celebration for the 50th. But they're going to have things about Figment and Orange Bird, and it says Bon Appetit, and just some of these characters that were created for Walt Disney World, and hopefully they have some of those kind of animatronics and puppets and stuff like that. So I love all that stuff. Like I said, I wish there was more of that for the whole celebration. So I think that should be a great.
I'm surprised that I'm curious whether that was originally planned, right? Because right now the 50th, like no one's talking about the 50th, right? They had like the first week, you had the two new Harmonia, like. Imagine if this is all they had, and this was non-pandemic times. Harmonious would have, popped up over a year ago, right? Because that was that was supposed to be debuted quite early. Epcot would have already been probably close to being finished, right? Or at least mostly done for the most part. So what were they going to do at the Magic Kingdom to celebrate, the anniversary of this thing? Like a new nighttime show. That's to be expected. But what else is going on other than food items, right? There's really not much else being done.
Yeah, there's just gradually things coming out, more merchandise and stuff like that. And then obviously, a couple new rides eventually, but
the golden statues, of course,
yes,
right?
Of course.
I mean, let's not
and I guess
discount.
The next magic bands, right? That'll interact.
Well, the ones they have to pay for, yes, that are $100 a piece, whatever they might be. But no, but like my point is like all that the one that you're excited about is like why? I mean, like I you come to expect little touches from Disney World, right? The kind of little touches that aren't just like cheap little touches, but like, you're bringing back old, costumes, like old, whatever, my retro stuff to like kind of celebrate the history. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what could have been, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's a little disappointing with what the 50th is. We should probably have a 50th in review episode sometime Q2 next year. Put that on our calendar.
Okay.
Sure. Why not? Okay. I'm I'm straying far.
So on Sunday there aren't quite as many. I mean, there's things that I'm sure will be fun, but not as many that really jump out to me. There's things about the Disney Wish and stuff like that. One that is there is the Dawn of the Disney World, which we have joined Stephen Vanini, I hope I'm saying his name right, author and historian behind the new Disney edition coffee table book, A Portrait of Walt Disney World, 50 Years in the Most Magical Place on Earth, all about sort of the creation of Walt Disney World again, from starting in 1971.
This is the stuff I like.
But what really jumped out at me is the last part of it, where it says, to close out the session, Walt Disney's Archives director Becky Klein will host a special appearance by Disney legend Dick Nunis for a look at how Walt Disney's greatest dream was transformed into the Vacation Kingdom of the World. So I think that part should be really, really cool.
I think they should bring back Vacation Kingdom of the World again. They don't use that enough.
I agree. Absolutely.
A lot of nostalgia attached to that.
Later in the day, there's something called Musical Attractions of the Walt Disney World. So I think that's going to be great to hear all the music that's been used in some of the attractions at Walt Disney World. That's part of the reason why I loved Epcot forever, because it had all those classic songs from Epcot attractions. So hopefully they bring back a lot of that stuff. But obviously at all four parks. And then we have a fantastic finale, which will have a performer from The Lion King, Sydney Winters, who will be there. And so I think that should just probably be really cool. They always kind of go all out for the musical things. That should be fun. So a lot of cool stuff, a lot of trivia, a lot of things with
history
and stuff like that. So I'm sure it'll all be cool, but those are the ones that really jumped out at me.
Now, my question, Phil, once this is all done, what we're going to be recording most likely on a Monday after that, right? Because you're getting back on Sunday, right? You're getting back late on Sunday?
No, I come back Monday morning.
Oh, so you're just going to go right back to work and then record in the evening. That's good. So you'll be fresh in your mind, and you'll be exhausted, which will be excellent. Unpredictable actions. So I don't know what you want to do. So do you want to record a little bit every night? Do you want to do it solo? Do you want to do it together? We could maybe think of something kind of doing that. If you find if there's something
we want to hear, we could people want to kind of comment on social media what they want us to do. I was definitely thinking I could kind of report out and put out things on social media, what I'm seeing and kind of some initial takes, but maybe at some point we could try to hop on and have a quickie.
Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, if you want to put it that way, sure. But no, I think, if you're really interested in Phil's take on this, definitely hop on Discord. He's going to be commenting all day on all weekend on this stuff. It's going to be a live feed that way. But what I'm really jealous about, because it's just going to be a group of freaking Disney nerds nerding out
exactly.
like a whole weekend, and it's going to be great. And I'm going to be, I got to go to one of these things, right? Like maybe next year, if time allows, family allows, maybe we can go to California for a couple days. That would be amazing, right? Yeah. That would be very cool. But yeah, I'm super stoked. This is just a lot of just the music part that you mentioned is really cool to me. I love just seeing the different sounds, where they've come from, some of the stuff you can't hear anymore. The family, if we're not sitting in front of them doing a movie night, we're sitting at our dinner table and we've got I'll give a plug to Deep Park Radio on our Alexa. We listen to them every single night, with all the rides and the attractions and some of the favorite stuff. So I think that's really cool. There's a lot of good history stuff on this type of thing. And I think this is one of the biggest productions that they've done on the East Coast, I think, right?
I think so. That's what it feels like, and that's what everybody's sort of... I mean, that's what we're hoping. Hopefully we're not let down, but it feels like that they kind of built this one up a little bit more, because this is usually the quote-unquote off year versus the expo, which is the opposite years out in California. So, I'm pretty excited. That was one reason why I convinced myself and convinced my wife to let me spend the money to go, was that it seemed like kind of, for lack of a better word, like almost a once-in-a-lifetime that
maybe
Disney World's going to be this special, but we'll see.
Yeah, it should be fun, and we'll get your take on it. Just to wrap up the show, not to drag it out any longer, DBC recommends for this week, as we said at the top of the show, is Happily Everything Disney Podcast by our own Matt Petto. That's not his actual last name, but that's his Twitter handle. It's an excellent podcast. He's got two lovely people, friends of his that talk everything Disney. I don't think they're going to be very news-centric, but they're definitely going to be talking about like major topics that pop up.
Sounds like topics and just like kind of ideas Matt has, like what if this happened, or what do you think about this? So like a little bit more, I don't know, armchair imagineering is not the right word, but kind of more like what ifing it.
Well, I mean, you got to say Matt's been the guy with the brains behind the DCI and all the math and spreadsheeting and all the stuff that he does. It's absolutely phenomenal what he's actually done behind the scenes of that thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he's very detail oriented or data oriented in that view. And he also started before the DCI. What led up to the DCI is the before and after. So I mean, you know him about the DCI index, but before that, he's been playing the before and after game that we did today a lot longer. And that's why it's like, if we're guessing when this is coming, why don't I start tracking when these things come back? And that's kind of how it kind of iterated into the product that he's put together today. And they're going to play a lot of games like that. And I think it's very fun. The first episode is out right now, so you can go ahead and download it. Make sure if you do download it, you like and subscribe on any of your podcasting platforms. And if you do have access to iTunes, make sure you follow, like, and give them a 5-star rating. Because if you've taken or consumed his content on the DCI, he deserves a 5-star rating, because there's nothing you've been able to. He's not asking for money. He doesn't have a Patreon. He doesn't have anything else like that. But he now has a podcast, and if you're going to help him get his voice out there even further, make sure you get on iTunes and give him a 5-star review, like what I did, because he has one of the most amazing graphics for his cover.
I don't know. I can't imagine where that came from.
I have no idea. Not going to say anything. That being said, guys, Phil, do we have anything else? Has the winner of our contest contacted you?
Yes, we've gotten contact. I have
Excellent.
their address. I have it all packaged up. I just need to get to the post office and mail it out.
Excellent. So when you get that, I don't know if you're framing it or just kind of putting it in an envelope somewhere, but if you happened to frame it and put it somewhere, make sure you send us a picture of what it looks like. If you don't mind, please. I would love to see it displayed somewhere. But again, if you're just putting it in like a box, safety deposit box in the bank, just because it's going to be worth something in 50 years from now, God bless.
Not because of what it is, because they want it from the DVC podcast. Which
of course. of course, Phil just signed a big giant marker across the whole thing. You can't see the map, but you can see his signature, Johnny Hancock. Going across it. That being said, hope you enjoy that. And thanks to Phil for putting it together and saving one of those from the trip. We'll see you next week. I think we're going to have a guest next week. We haven't confirmed who it's going to be. We're going to try to bring some people on, kind of go back to our roots of when we had guests on every single week.
A little more often, yeah.
And go from there. We were trying to get Ryan Teets on. We're going to try to get him on next week. I'm just going to spill the beans right here. We haven't asked him yet, and I don't know if he's listening right now. So we're going to ask you in Discord in the next couple of days, buddy.
We'll take it personally.
He's in New York City right now, so we couldn't.
We can say congratulations. He finished the New York City Marathon today.
Oh, he finished. I haven't been on Discord because I've been trying to be
finished it with a personal record for marathons. So good job, Aaron.
Good. Round of applause for him. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening, and have a good one. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone.